Okay, today we're going to take a look at chapter 2, or chapter 4 again. And we're looking at 4.2, which is credit card finance charges. So there's going to be monthly and daily periodic rates, which we're going to be looking at. And if you think about it, your monthly, how many months in a year? There's going to be 12 months. So if it says the monthly, you may only have to do it for 1 month, or it may be for the 12 months. So first off, if you don't pay your credit card balance in full by the due date, you'll be assessed a finance charge. Also, whenever you're going to be taking a look at this, you are going to lose the grace period for new purchases. What does that mean? That means because if you don't pay in full, you don't get like basically a leeway. So your finance charges will be charged on new purchases from the day that they are made. So instead of paying it off at the end of the month and you start new, you don't get finance charges because you paid it off the month before. Now, any new purchases that you are going to be put on there, let's say you purchased it today, it's going to start from today. You're also going to be charged finance charges on that because there is still a balance on your card. So let's take a look. Periodic rate is what we're looking at. So your periodic rate is going to be a daily or monthly rate. This is going to be found, how you're going to find it is by dividing the annual percentage rate, which we also call that the APR. And that's going to be divided by what we were talking about, 365, which is your daily, or 12. So again, it's just stating down here to find the monthly or daily periodic rate, divide the APR by, we're going to do by 12 or by 365. Either way, you can switch those and round to the nearest 10 thousandths. So, formula that we are going to use is going to be the balance subject to the finance charge times the periodic rate, which we are looking at for those, and then the number of periods. Okay, so what does it all mean? Let's take a look at example A. Example A says the balance on the credit card is subject to a finance charge is $221.68. Her card has an APR of 18%. So I'm just underlining keywords we need, and uses a monthly periodic rate. So, first thing we need to do is our APR is 18%. So we're looking at 18% is the annual, and we're talking about monthly. So we're going to have to divide that by 12. So dividing it, I get 1.5%. Or I can change that and move this over 2 places. So I would have 0.015. Notice if I go over 2 places, that's 1.5. That would give us our percentage. So now we are going to look at balance subject to the finance charge using our formula. Is going to be the 221.68. It says times the periodic rate, which is our 1.5%. And it says the number of periods, which is just going to be 1 because we are looking at 1 month. So our current finance charge is going to be $3.33. Looking at example B, basically the same thing. I'm going to look through it. The balance is 1,587. APR of 21%. They use the daily periodic rate. So because daily, we're going to divide by 365. So we'll take our 21% divided by the 365. That is going to give me 0.0575%. Now we have that, and now we have to plug this into our formula. Balance subject to finance charge is going to be the 1,587. Multiply that by our periodic rate, 0.0575. Don't forget percentage. And because we're looking now at a 30-day billing cycle, so that is going to be our number of periods, which is going to be 30. So multiplying all those together, we get $27.38. Okay. The next page we're going to look at, it says the amount of the finance charge depends on your periodic rate, how the card company figures the balance subject to finance charge. This balance can be found by using several methods. So the first one is going to be the average daily balance method. It's including or excluding your new purchases, which we will look at that. The adjusted balance and the previous balance. So the first thing we're going to look at is previous balance method. Previous balance method is they charge, so it's going to charge interest on the balance in the account that you have, and it's going to be on the last billing date. And it's the last billing date of the previous month. So notice we have previous month. They're talking about the previous balance method. So here's the formula we're going to be needing to look at. Notice they give you a table to look at. And it says the credit card statement is shown below. Notice the finance charges, the new balance, and minimum payment due boxes are gray because these amounts will vary with the method used. So depending on what method they use for all of this, that's why these are going to be your gray boxes. So, able to understand that? I'm gonna skip C for now, and I'm gonna take a look at D. It shows, again, I'm gonna underline things, previous balance. I have new purchases and fees, payments and credits. Now I have an APR of 24%. They want to know his finance charge for April and the new balance using the previous balance method and a monthly periodic rate. Okay, so let's go back to the basics first. We're looking at a monthly periodic rate and we have an APR of 24%. So we're going to take our 24%, divide that by our 12 because we're looking at monthly, and we're looking at 2% is what we need to know for the moment. Previous balance is the 309.20. Multiply that by my 2% and multiply that by 1 because we're talking about the 1 month of just April. So our finance charge is going to be $6.18. That's my first part I'm looking at. The new balance. Okay, well, I'm starting with the 309.20. And if you look back to the page before, it's previous balance plus my finance charge of $6.18, which I just found, plus any new purchases and fees, which I have $128.45, minus any of payments or credits. So I have payments and credits of $75. So now I'm going to add all of this up, subtract off my payments. So my new balance is going to be $368.83. Okay, so now we're looking at, that was previous balance. This is adjusted balance. It's going to be where you subtract payments and credits during the month. And it's going to be subtracted from the balance. It's going to be at the end of the previous month. So whatever your balance is from the previous month, that's where you're going to subtract off your payment and credits. Notice here, adjusted balance method and the new balance. I'm going to skip this one because it goes back to the beginning with Laura's statement. And let's take a look at example F. Okay, so again, I'm going to go through, underline the things I need to know. 18% APR, uses the adjusted balance method for calculating the finance charges. Statement facts, previous balance, purchases, fees, payments, and credits. They are using the daily periodic rate, and they want to know finance charge and new balance on a 31-day billing cycle. So because we're going to use the adjusted balance method, I'm going to start with my previous balance and subtract off any payments, which I have a payment of $150. And I also have a credit of $62.69. So that's going to be my first step because it's the adjusted balance method. Okay, so I did that. So now it's going to be $97.64. So I'm going to need to know that much so far. Then it says my APR is 18%. And we're looking at, it says the daily periodic rate. So daily is going to divide by 365. So I'm going to have 0.0493%. So there's my percentage. So now I need to find my finance charge. So using my adjusted balance multiplied by my rate multiplied by my time, which is going to be the 31 days. So my finance charge is going to be $1.49. So they want to know what is the finance charge. So there's my first answer, the new balance. Well, I'm going to start out with the adjusted because I've already done the payments and the credits. I've already used 18%. I already know the daily periodic, and I already found my finance charge. So now I need to find my new balance. So I have this plus my finance charge of $1.49 plus purchases plus any fees I have, which I have a fee of $75. So these are going to be my purchases and my fees. This is my finance charge here. And this was my adjusted balance. So what my new balance is going to be is $393.80. So you could even write this as my new balance. This is going to be my finance charge. And this is going to be my adjusted balance. So notice if you look back, those two formulas are going to be right here on my page. So the adjusted balance, you're going to do the previous minus my payments and credits to get my new balance. Adjusted balance, which comes from up here, plus my finance charge, which I found, plus my new purchases, plus any fees. Okay, so I'm just basically plugging into the formula. Now, I'm just going to go over some things with you on the practice problems.
Mr. Harold, please dial 3002. Mr. Harold, please dial 3002.
Okay, so I'm going to do A. So if I'm taking a look at A, I first need to find my periodic rate. Notice I'm looking at monthly. So my APR is 15% divided by my monthly. I'll help you set these up. B, I'm looking at daily. So I'm looking at 18% divided by 365. C, I'm looking at monthly. So I have 12% divided by 12. D is daily. So I have 21% divided by 365. E is monthly, so I have 9% divided by 12. And F, it says daily, So I have 10% divided by 365. So this is how you're going to find the periodic rate. So the first one, if I would do this, I would take 15% divided by 12. My periodic rate is going to give me 1.25%. How to find the finance charge. I'm going to skip so that you can take a look at a better one. Let's look at B. Whenever I did the 18% divided by my 365, I got 0.0493%. And we're looking at 30 days. So on B, I'm going to write it down here. I have my amount, which is $89.22, multiplied by my periodic rate of 0.0493% times the number of periods, which is going to be 30. Notice whenever you're doing this one, it's only going to be multiplied by 1. This one multiplied by 1. This one is going to be 31, 1, and 30 if you're looking at those. So for B, if I multiply all of those straight across, I'm going to get my finance charge is $1.32. Now on 2, make sure you're looking at this. Previous balance I'm going to look at. New purchases and fees I'm underlining. Payments and credits I have. Annual percentage rate. And they are using the previous balance method. Monthly periodic rate. And you're going to have 2 answers. You're going to have your finance charge and your new balance. So, you know you're going to have to find this, the 21%. And we're talking about for the month of October. So you would divide by 12. So previous balance is what you're going to be using to find it for later. Right now we're going to find the finance charge. So I have the 21% divided by 12, which is 0.0175. So previous balance 175.30 times my 0.0175. And we're going to get the finance charge of $3.07. $3.07 is my finance charge. That's my one answer I needed. My second one is going to be my new balance. So my new balance is going to be my previous balance plus, you're going to have to put in the finance charge, new purchases, and any fees, minus your payments and credits. So I'm just going to plug in numbers for this. Previous balance, you're going to put in 175.30 plus my finance charge was $3.07 plus new purchases and my fees are combined here. So plus 108.85 minus, and my payments and credits again are combined here. So minus $125. So if I put all this together, I have the 175.30 plus minus. My new balance is going to be 162.22. This one I'm just going to underline stuff for you. This is all you need to do is underline the important information. And then we're wanting to find the finance charge and the new balance. So you'll have two answers just like this one up here. So if you look to the next pages, this is the adjusted balance method for this one. So I would tell you to go ahead and try 5 and skip 4 and 6. And on the next page, you can skip 7, 8, and 9. So that would be section 4.2. So those would be your problems for the vocab, the formulas, everything you need to know for section 4.2. And then you have also your homework pages to be working on for those.